Monica! I'm in here!
What did you do with her?
Hello. This morning when I woke up, I had a DM from somebody, which, if it is to be believed, is kind of a big deal for the Amberverse, at least I think it is. This person shared with me DMs which were exchanged between Emily, who is Amberlynn Reid's ex, and this person called A. In these DMs, Emily appears to insinuate that there was a level of physicality, if you get what I'm saying, between the relationship of Amber and Emily. My goal in this video is to show you what I've been sent, with the huge caveat that, although the DMs appear to be genuine, there is always a chance that this has been created. It could be a story made up to make Amber look bad. The DMs might be fake. This person could just be really good at Photoshop, or, you know, quite good at Photoshop. I don't know. In making this video, I am not personally accusing Amber of anything myself. I'm just sharing what I've been sent. So I was messaged by this person who I'm calling A. A was DMing Emily from February 2025 to March 2025. I can't tell you how I know that for certain, but I know it for certain. I've seen something which, if I tell you the details of that particular proof, people will find A extremely easily. So I can't tell you the proof that I've seen, but I know with 100% certainty, you're going to have to just take my word for it, that A and Emily were absolutely DMing at this time, and we know that for certain. That doesn't mean that the DMs haven't been fiddled with or changed in some way, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. But just to let you know, you can be 100% sure that they were messaging, but we don't know if what's being shown here is exactly what was said, obviously, but you'll get what I'm talking about as we go along. I also don't know A, I don't know their motivations, so that's another factor to wonder about. All of this is alleged. I'm going to share as much context and evidence as I can whilst keeping A anonymous. A also doesn't want loads of their messages to be read. They're cool with me showing parts which help the conversation to make sense, but just be aware that I am going to redact lots of it, so sorry if that's annoying. I'll also number the screenshots if that makes it any easier for reaction channels who may or may not watch this. I really don't know if anyone's going to care. I care. When I saw it, I was like, fuck.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
On the morning of May 25th, 2025, I received this DM. Hello there, I have some tea for you. I typed out this entire message, then thought you wouldn't care, then I think maybe she will, so I'm just going to tell you, and if you want to participate, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. Redacted section, which has very personal details inside it. Anyway, I wanted to get her, Emily, to open up and spill the dirt, so I didn't want to share because I felt no reason to, but if she went back to ALR, then this info should be out there. That's the motivation and reasoning that A gave me. So of course I was interested. I asked A to send me whatever they have. I thought to myself, this is probably fake, but I'll have a good look through and see if there's anything worth making a video about. A then sent me the screenshots. I had a really good look through them. I had a read of them. I did a little bit of cross-referencing and just a little bit of thinking, and I decided that I was going to make this video, so here I am. There were lots and lots of screenshots, so Emily and A had lots of discussion from the end of Feb to mid-March. I'm going to show you all of the screenshots, but A was basically messaging Emily sympathetically. The two were having nice conversations where Emily was sharing some personal things about Amber, which I think is going to be interesting for us to see. And then they reach kind of a pinnacle in March where Emily says the thing about the physical stuff, so we'll get to that. So on the 24th of Feb 2025, A reaches out to Emily and says something like, I hope your health is okay, wishing you all the best. Emily says, I just hate that I'm still being talked about, but thank you. A then puts a nice message where they are trying to tell Emily that it's going to be okay and give Emily a kind of supportive, kind of, you know, it'll be okay kind of message. A then sends this, which is quite a long message. The idea of what A is saying here is that basically A understands that Emily has struggled a lot with losing Colleen, and it's basically just A letting Emily know that she's not alone and she's not the only person who's been through this suffering. And you can see at the bottom here that Emily replies with, nothing compares to the pain of losing her. I still have dreams about her. I've done, then there's a redacted line here, which is, I can't put that in because it will give some stuff away. I just haven't had the motivation to do much of anything. The pain of losing someone on top of being harassed and having strangers say you contributed to their death is literally the worst thing imaginable that I don't wish on anyone. Then there's a message where A's replied and said very personal stuff, which I'm not going to show. There's more personal stuff from A, and then a photo, which A has sent to Emily. A then sends a few more messages and another photo, which is relevant to, you know, basically it's relevant to something bad that happened to A, and A is sharing photos from that experience to relate to Emily. Emily says, that's so sweet, I'm sorry for your loss. I know how it feels to finally have the love that you read about or see in movies, just to have it ripped away knowing you'll never find that connection again. It's really isolating. And then you can see here that A has replied saying something that's kind of like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, basically. Emily then says, my child is the one thing that keeps me going every day. I'm so thankful grateful for her. A sends another supportive message and then says, I'm so over Alexis. As soon as she brought you up, it broke my heart for you. I'm so sorry. You're doing everything you can, as far as I can see, to move on, and Alexis is desperately trying to stay relevant. Sorry this happened again. Emily says, I can't stand her. I've done nothing to her for her to treat me like this. A says, the worst part is she treats you like shit under the guise of protecting ALR, but then she treats her like shit too. She is scum and so selfish. Emily says, oh yeah, she wasn't doing shit to protect her. She wants the attention. A says, agreed, just take care of yourself. Then there's a gap. A seems to send a message, which Emily doesn't reply to. Then, on the 15th of March, I believe that is the day that Emily posted a picture with a caption which was about Colleen, basically expressing her grief and her sadness, at which point A messages Emily and says, I hope you're finding peace and healing in small ways. I'm proud of you for posting the truth about your ex and honouring her memory. It was a beautiful post, I almost cried. Emily says, thank you, that's very kind. Everything has been really hard. Amberlynn has taken a toll on me. I stayed with her because, sorry about my dog, you're human and I was hurting. When someone is your only emotional anchor, even when it's hurting you, it can feel safer than staring into the unknown of loneliness. It's survival mode. That part of me is scared, worn down and clinging to anything that looks like connection, even if it's costing me pieces of myself. I stayed because I lost Colleen, my safe place, my soft landing, and when you lose something so precious, your heart tries to fill that void with anything that feels like it might offer relief, even if deep down you know it isn't the same. So Emily saying that about Amber is kind of telling about their relationship already, and it's interesting, but I'm not going to dig into all of that right now. But I will say that the way this is worded, and the fact that I know the two were speaking at the time, and the way that Emily appears to write on her public Instagram posts, I believe that Emily did write these DMs. Then A says something like, I don't know how you handled being with Amber, basically like, I can't believe you put up with her. Then A sends another message with a photo saying, I hope this will bring you some smiles, and then something private which I can't put in there. Then A says, I have a confession. I do not like ALR. I didn't want to offend you. I saw you in her videos and felt you weren't being treated fairly, but honestly, I hope you didn't get treated too badly by her. I don't care about her looks, size, I judge her on her actions. And then something very, very personal there as well. And then you can see here, Emily has replied, she is as manipulative as people say she is, if not more. She doesn't see it either. She never sees herself as in the wrong. It's always everyone else's fault. People making fun of her size or Beck talking about the wiping thing has nothing to do with the actual terrible things she does, which takes away from that. A then replies another message, but basically in this chain of messages, the reason I can't show what A is saying is because it's A's own personal trauma that they don't want to share relating to somebody that's very personal to them, so I can't show all of that, so I'm leaving that out. But basically it's just A saying something awful happened to me too, Amber's behaviour reminds me of someone I know, basically. In the personal story that A shared, Emily says, wow, that story hits home. I would always cringe when she did something nice for me because I knew it would be held over my head or used against me. I could say a lot of stories of what I went through, but so many people have already said that they hate me and don't care what I have to say. Now to that message I will say, Emily, obviously you've had a lot of heat, including from me. I have a big video where I insult you and call you a feeder. I stand by there being very, very good evidence that you are a feeder or you are into that stuff. And I think you dating Amberlynn Reid was bad. But it's not true that nobody wants to hear what you have to say or doesn't care what you have to say. I'm going to make this video showing you saying this, and I imagine you will see from the reaction, although I have no idea how this is going to be perceived. I really don't know. I'm a bit worried I'm going to regret making this, to be honest, but we'll just blow that bridge up when we get there because I think it needs to get out. I think Amber can't carry on doing this to people, so I don't know. But anyway, Emily, if you want to share your story, people do want to listen to you. I will listen to you. I'll listen openly. I'd be willing to share on your behalf if you don't want to get on YouTube. I'm sure you won't want to do that, but just so you know. Then A says more personal stuff. Everyone treated you like a faceless character in a fiction. You're a person with valid, complicated feelings. And then Emily says, yeah, the internet mob mentality is scary. I've been through hell and back with saying things publicly. It gives me great anxiety, which is fair enough. Speaking publicly about something, you put your neck on the line. I'm putting my neck on the line right now. A says she knew how her haters are and she threw you to the wolves. So awful. Emily then says, everyone says I knew all about her. I knew who she was, but very vaguely. I had no idea about the Reddit or the farms. I wish I would have gotten a heads up. And then there's more personal stuff from A. And then we have this from A, who says, you need to stop posting on Insta and instead make a YouTube video series and get that coin back from that amazing concert you bought for her, in my opinion. Emily says, bro, those tickets cost a small fortune and she got me Tupperware for for my birthday. And then A says a bunch of stuff, and then ha, I think Girl World is ready for Emily's side, which I think is true. Emily says she's very stingy. That is one thing I'll say Alexis was actually right about. She spends so much money on useless shit. She bought like 400 highlighters when she was at my house and left them all here, but because she was into word searches and using different highlighters. A says, that makes my poor ass so sad, haha, such a waste. Then on the 17th, which is the following day, Emily says, I would get so salty about that shit because she's asked me to drive her to the casino in Milwaukee after a 12-hour shift or running around for random errands and wouldn't offer a cent in gas money. A sends some more sympathetic stuff. I think it's fair to say that what A was doing here was kind of trying to coax Emily into sharing things, which is partially why A doesn't want their messages shared, because they're worried that if they get worked out or somebody finds out who they are, they will then use what they've said to Emily against them or know loads of really personal stuff about them, and I understand that that could happen. So that's why I'm doing my best to hide everything I possibly can that could give you any idea who A is. So that's the chats they were having from February 24th to March 17th. Following the conversations I've shown, on March 18th, A asks Emily this. I know this is personal, but I'm curious. Did she physically harm you at all, or try? If that's too nosy or too hard for you to talk about, no worries, you don't owe me anything. I hope the answer is no. I hope she didn't hurt you more than what I imagined she did emotionally. At this point, allegedly, according to A, Emily turns on vanish mode on Instagram. Now, if you don't know what vanish mode is, I've never used it, but this is what it is. When you put this setting on, you see this pop up. So this is what it looks like. You see this message and you see this option to press learn more. This is going to be relevant in a minute, okay? So when A allegedly asked this question of Emily, which you can see here that I've just read out loud, A claims that Emily put on vanish mode and then sent this message. Here is a picture of the phone with the message. The message says, I don't really want to disclose too much info. Let's just say it was more than just words. So this is basically A saying to Emily, was Amber abusive in any way beyond just emotionally? And Emily replies with, let's just say it was more than just words. And that, I think, heavily insinuates that there was a physical element to this relationship. I asked A to tell me a bit more about how they ended up with this photo, and this is a DM from A, which I'm cool to show you, and this is what they said. You can clearly see in the photo that it's her photo and name. I know it's blurry. I was shaking when I took it because I was so upset and didn't want to press anything to lose the message. So a few things to go over here. You can see at the top of this screenshot, Emily has turned on hidden messages, or at least it looks like she has, because you can see the top of the message that shows when you turn on vanishing mode, and you can see the learn more button, and then you can see the next message is that message from Emily. Then you can see that if this is true, A has opened the message and gone, holy shit, put the phone down and taken a photo of the phone, which that's what it looks like anyway. If you look at the time, there's a few hours between these two things, so it could be that if it's true, Emily took a while to respond, but that is what allegedly, according to A, Emily said. So that sounds like a yes. This could mean as much or as little as we like. I obviously have lots and lots of thoughts about this. It's very complicated. I'm trying to remain unbiased, at least for now, while I share like the highlights of what was sent.
People might think it's nothing. People might think it's really important. I truly don't know. Obviously, we need to discuss a couple of things. So we need to discuss the validity of the screenshots. So we know for certain, you're going to have to take my word for it, but I promise you, on my good name, I know for certain that A and Emily were DMing at the time, 100%. I've seen other different evidence where I know for a fact that they were exchanging private messages at the time, so that makes it seem likely that the messages A has sent me are messages from Emily, because I know they were talking. So A has either spoken to Emily about a load of other stuff and then made up fake messages and sent me a load of fake screenshots. I don't know. The photograph itself, like where Emily is saying this, I think it looks credible. The lighting is looking right on all of the, all the writing is the same size, it's all the same colour, it's all the same lightness and the same blurriness. You can see the name. This photo was taken before Emily deleted her Instagram, which is why we can see that there's a picture there, but there aren't pictures in the screenshots that A took this morning to send to me. So there's the question of, is it true? Is it real? Obviously Emily has only said that, which doesn't show very much at all. Emily could also be lying, so it might be that these screenshots are real, but that Emily is lying about Amber, I don't know. However, if it is true, and Emily isn't lying, and this really did happen, then that is a whole conversation which needs to be had, right? If this is Emily coming out, well, not coming out, but if this is Emily saying there was a physical element to the relationship, the reason that matters to me and the reason that I'm sharing it and platforming this and exposing these private DMs, which to be honest is not something I feel comfortable doing, but I think we have a duty in the Amberverse to know that this is true, because in the past, Amber has been accused of this before by Casey, and if this is true, it gives a lot more credibility, which Casey doesn't need this because I believed Casey anyway, but it makes it even more likely likely that Casey isn't lying, and that all of the other exes who have come out and said that Amber is awful and manipulative aren't lying. I don't believe they're lying anyway, but this is just like another ex in a line of exes. So it does matter, I think, if Emily did say this, and if Emily has been another victim of Amber. It's very relevant in my opinion. I'm super curious what the other people are going to think. I've not been doing this very long. I don't know if other reaction channels are going to think that I'm overreacting or being dramatic. I really don't know. But in my humble opinion, the concept that everybody jumped on Emily and was so horrible and nasty to her, including myself, and then it may turn out that in fact she was actually more of a victim of Amber than anybody realised, that is very interesting and important for us in the Amberverse to assess. So, however, again, if it is true and that did happen to Emily, it makes Emily a victim of DV, and it's Emily's own story to share. Clearly, Emily doesn't want to talk about it because she put that message on disappearing mode. If Emily wanted to talk about it, she would have shared her story. But I will say, in these DMs, we see Emily saying that she hasn't bothered sharing her story because she thinks nobody's going to want to listen to her. Well, Emily, that's not true. We do want to listen to you. So that's almost why I feel a bit more comfortable sharing this, because I feel like maybe Emily does want people to know. I could be wrong about that. So, I don't know. Emily, if you want to share your story to somebody who will genuinely listen to you, don't get me wrong, I'm critical. I can call out and question your feederism-related behaviour, but that doesn't mean that I won't support you as a victim of DV and share your story on your behalf if you want me to. If you want me to shut the fuck up and not mention it again, equally, I won't. I just think this needed to come out, and I don't know, I'm having like, oh, regret, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned this, maybe I shouldn't have made this video. I think it's going to be one of those where I just fucking post it anyway and see what happens. The truth is, we just don't know what the truth is. I understand in making this video I've taken some risk, because this might turn out to be lies, right? It could happen, but just in case it is true, which to be honest, I think it might be, Amber's supporters need to know. Everybody needs to know. If Emily is another person in a long line of Amber's victims, then she deserves to have her story told if that's what she wants. And if she doesn't, then I suppose we'll all just be left to speculate. Thank you for watching. I'm curious what you guys think. I'm sorry if you feel I've let you down by sharing this. If you have any opinions or thoughts about the fact that I shared this, whether I should or shouldn't, I'm more than happy to listen. If it turns out that I shouldn't have, I will listen to that as well, and I will apologise, but I just don't know what to do, and I feel like it needs to come out, and so I'm sharing it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.